I want to thank our reader, Ellen Thrash, for the great reading, and Gary Lynn Floyd and our music team for the great music that supports the message today. And this month of March, our theme is Choosing to Live. And our message today, enjoy yourself. Let's begin with a radical idea. Life is supposed to be enjoyed, not survived, not tolerated, not muscled through, enjoyed. And yet, how many of us were trained to believe that joy must be earned, or that peace comes after the work is done, or that we'll rest once everything is fixed? The Dalai Lama once said, "We have bigger houses but smaller families, more conveniences but less time, more knowledge but less judgment, more experts but more problems." It's true, we have faster phones and slower hearts. We're busy, but are we alive? While you ponder that, let me give you your question for the week. What is the one choice you might make today to stay in a peaceful state of being, to know much of the bad that we see is not real, and to step out of life's rush and make room for God? One more time. What is the one choice you might make today to stay in a peaceful state of being, to know much of the bad we see is not real, and to step out of life's rush and make room for God? We're exploring how to enjoy ourself, that essence of who we are. And for me, at least, that requires me to feel peaceful. Ernest Holmes teaches in The Science of Mind that there is a universal mind that responds to our thought, and life reflects our inner state. You've heard me quote Ernie several times. Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. Keeping those words in mind, peace is not something that we must wait for. It's something we practice, something we think about to bring about. As the Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. And Science of Mind agrees. It tells us that peace is not circumstantial. It's about consciousness. A Course in Miracles tells us nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And by the way, peace is not the absence of noise. It's that absence of inner argument. I've talked a lot about how my dean, Catherine Economo, taught me spiritual maturity involves learning to respond rather than react, and to pause long enough to choose love over fear. That seems like it would be an easy lesson for somebody in ministerial school, and yet, trust me, it's not, and I'm still learning it. So let's take a look at a spiritual practice that might help. I call it the sacred pause for peace. 3 times a day, stop for a full minute and breathe. And then ask yourself, what am I believing right now? Is this belief producing peace? And if not, choose again. This practice makes us aware of whether we're living in a state of peace or if our thoughts are having us be on that treadmill of busyness that the reading described today. Jonathan Parker writes, we must discipline the mind toward joy. Discipline the mind towards joy. Joy's not accidental. It's intentional alignment. So to enjoy ourself, we must learn to intentionally do those things that bring us peace and calm and joy. You know, sometimes multitasking can steal my peace. And I read recently that multitasking is a myth. That explains why I walk into a room sometimes and forget why I'm there. However, I'd like to say I wasn't multitasking. I was just spiritually advanced and practicing non-attachment. Yeah, well, and if you believe that, well, I can't help you there. A woman named Maria was diagnosed with a chronic illness. At first, she was very angry. How can I enjoy life now? But months later, she began sitting outside every morning with a cup of tea, watching the sunrise, feeling the breeze, and she began noticing birds that she had never seen before. One day she said, I used to rush past life. Now, life comes to me. Her body was not perfect. Her circumstances certainly weren't ideal, but her consciousness shifted. And in that shift, she discovered something profound. Joy was never in the circumstances. It was in her attention. So the truth is, joy is not accidental. As Jonathan Parker reminded us, it takes discipline. This story leads me into the second part of our question for the week, which was making a choice to know that all the bad we see is not real. Most of us would probably believe that being diagnosed with a chronic illness is a bad thing. And for Maria, it changed her way of living in a good way. We don't always see where God is in things. And if we believe this philosophy, which I do, we know there's no spot where God is not. Sometimes it's just beyond me to see it. How about you? There might appear to be a lot of bad out in the world right now. But if you remembered last week, Reverend Catherine suggested that we learn to pray the news. Doing that requires us to be bold, to know that God is in everything somewhere, even when we can't see it. A Course in Miracles tells us projection makes perception. In other words, what we see is often projection, our own fear projected outward. So the bad is what we're choosing to see rather than believing that God and good is coming forth. Let me be quick to say that doesn't mean that suffering doesn't feel very real. It means it doesn't have to be the ultimate reality in God. You probably all know that in the Bible, in Genesis, it says that creation was called very good. And in this philosophy, science of mind, it teaches that the underlying reality is good. Bad or evil is not a power, it's a misuse of creative thought. Ernest Holmes wrote this stunning statement: there is no power opposed to God. There is no power opposed to God. If you think about that, what Ernest Holmes was saying was that the storms of the world are not the ultimate truth. They're temporary expressions within an infinite God. Lao Tzu said, when you let go of what you are, you become what you might be. When we let go of the story that life is against us, we begin to see all the ways that life is for us. The Dalai Lama reminds us, in the practice of tolerance, one's enemy is the best teacher. What if you truly believe that nothing in your life is against you, but everything is here to awaken you? I had a lot of challenges this past week. I don't usually get down, but I was really at the point where I sent a note to my friend saying, please pray for me. I need a day that feels like it's filled with something other than challenges. I do believe that prayer works. How would you change your stories or how you enjoyed life if you believed that everything was here to awaken you? Would you slow down? Would you take time to reflect? It's a good question. The rush and the busyness of life is the greatest thief of joy. We hurry as though God is late. In Isaiah 30:15, the Bible tells us this: in returning and rest, you shall be saved. In quietness and trust shall be your strength. I'm going to repeat that because we live in a very busy world. In returning and rest, you shall be saved. In quietness and trust shall be your strength. These words speak of trusting God rather than human alliances for safety, highlighting that peace and power come from reliance on a higher power. The science of mind reminds us that treatment, prayer, works from stillness. We can't hear divine guidance in inner chaos or if we're living in fear. And these are great words of Jonathan Parker. Maybe you've already discovered that you carry a lifetime of negative emotions, fears, resentments, and limiting beliefs. These patterns create blockages that limit your experience of life. Wow. If we believe that, we would recognize that we have choices. And Parker speaks about designing life intentionally. He offers us 2 steps. The first is discover what to clear. What do we need to get rid of in our life? What are we holding on to that's not serving us? That can be tricky because it's not always immediately obvious. It might take some time to just rest and ask God that question. The second step is to learn to release your self-defeating patterns. For me, doing the 2 steps requires creating time for spiritual awareness rather than squeezing it in, and making time for God. So here's a spiritual practice that I call the 10-minute appointment with God. Schedule 10 minutes daily to make room for God. The important part is make this a non-negotiable habit. No phone, no agenda. Just sit, listen, be. The time is not to get answers. It is to remember God's presence. The truth is, God is always present in our life. We just don't make time to notice it. Someone said, I tried to have quiet time with God, but my to-do list kept yelling at me. So I told them, that's not your to-do list. It's your ego afraid of unemployment. Do you ever feel that way? That your ego is so loud, it's difficult to relax and feel the peace and calm and joy of life? Enjoying life truly is a spiritual practice. It's not shallow. Enjoyment is sacred. The Buddha taught mindfulness, fully tasting your tea, fully hearing the birds, engaging in whatever it is that's happening, whatever it is that you're doing, fully, putting your full attention to it. And A Course in Miracles reminds us, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It doesn't say that we have the kingdom of heaven later, nor does it say that we get the kingdom of heaven after enlightenment. It says the kingdom of heaven is within us right now. Ernest Holmes told us, life is not just something to be endured. It is to be lived in joy, in fullness, in abundance. When we enjoy our lives and enjoy who we are, we're not ignoring our problems. We're actually remembering the truth of who we are. And we can align with peace and joy because it's our natural state of being. As we heard in the meditation today, there is one life. That life is God. That life is my life now. And in this life, I am safe. I am whole. I am at peace. The life of good expresses through each of us. And enjoying your life is an act of trust. Trusting God enough to relax. Trusting life enough to smile. Trusting myself enough to stop striving. Just play with me for a moment. Right now, think of one simple thing you enjoy, something small. Sunlight on your face, your morning coffee, hearing your grandchild laugh. Now say it out loud so you can hear it. There is scientific evidence that joy multiplies when spoken. So in summary, in 2026, how might you enjoy yourself? Stay in a peaceful state of being. Peace is something that we have to practice. It comes from within. Remember, Jonathan Parker told us, discipline the mind to joy. And I would say to peace as well. And know that much of the bad that we see is really not real. There's no power opposed to God. Life's storms are temporary expressions, and they're temporary in an infinite universe. Everything is here to awaken us. So step out of life's rush and make room for God. Release your lifetime of self-defeating patterns and make time for God as a non-negotiable every day. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so willingly, energetically, and effortlessly stay in a peaceful state of being, know much of the bad we see is not real, and step out of life's rush and make room for God? And your challenge is, take time every day to notice something that brings you joy. Set aside time each day for God. And commit to using spiritual practice that'll help you remember to embrace enjoying yourself. Let's pray. We take a deep breath. There is one life, and that life is joy itself. That life is God, and that life expresses as me, as you. It moves as laughter. It moves as stillness. It moves as peace in the midst of circumstances. And I affirm that each person here is slowing down and softening and trusting more deeply. I know that each person heard something today in the message or the music that is allowing us to spend this time together to choose to live in joy, to release the rush of life, and to see through appearances and know in whatever appears to look bad, God's in it somewhere, and good prevails. I know we're each making room for God in the quiet spaces of our day, and we're daring, truly daring, to enjoy this sacred gift of life. I see each of us as the embodiment of divine love, a love that guides our steps with wisdom and fills our days with gentleness and vision. And I see each of us rooted in peace and lifted by love, choosing today to live in divine alignment with the truth of our being, knowing all that we are and all that we become truly is love. So may the tapestry of our lives continue to unfold in beauty and purpose in love. And may we remember to see the truth revealed in all of our interactions, knowing that God is in it somewhere. I am so grateful that we came today together with joy and courage and open hearts, and that we are embracing the practices that support us knowing and expressing joy and enjoying ourselves. So it's from this gratitude with great joy, bliss, and blessings that I trust this word and release it into the law. Let it be, knowing it's already done, fulfilled, completed, so I can say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. And I want to thank everyone who is continuing to support us. We're still paying for that new computer and some of the software that had to go on it. And I do appreciate people supporting our center so that we can continue to be a presence, even if it is through YouTube. Thank you so much. Enjoy our offertory song.